The Amazon. Rivers over 50 kilometers wide, flowing through a green carpet 20 stories high, over an area 2/3 the size of the continental US. Working silently and invisibly, it's helping to prevent a global warming catastrophe. Alessandro Araujo comes here to study how the Amazon keeps the Earth cool. This is Alessandro's commute to work. He hikes deep into the jungle and climbs a 52-meter tower to measure the gases in the Amazon air.
It's completely unpredictable today. I have to close the lid just for a moment. Let's see if the rain ceases, otherwise we are gonna have a problem here. Rain like this stays sometimes for 6-7 hours, and it's normal. It means the water cycle is well kept by the forest. This project is to raise the awareness of how important Amazonian rainforest is, not only for locals, Amazonians, but for Earth in itself.
A healthy Amazon is the planet's cooling mechanism, absorbing CO2, the greenhouse gas that is helping to warm the atmosphere.
From midnight until 6 o'clock in the morning, it was observed an increase in CO2 concentration. And just after dawn, there is a decrease of CO2 concentration till mid-afternoon.
But lately, the cooling mechanism has been breaking down.
We have observed an increase in CO2 concentration within the last 12 years, very similar to what has been observed elsewhere on Earth.
The Amazon is drying up. A 2005 drought was the worst in living memory. An area bigger than 400,000 football fields burnt to the ground. 5 years later, it happened again.
Intensive droughts and intensive floods are becoming more frequent than before. We have observed a lot of trees dying at certain parts of the Amazon.
Dead trees can't absorb CO2. And when they rot or burn, they actually release the gas.
If severe droughts become more frequent, gigatons of carbon will be released back to the atmosphere. This would change the balance, most likely turning a forest from a sink into a source.
Droughts could occur more frequently, creating a devastating feedback loop. Parts of the Amazon could dry up into grasslands. The implications for the entire planet are enormous.
If global warming is a real threat to life on Earth, we cannot deny the relevance and importance of keeping tropical rainforests working, helping to mitigate the effects of CO2 in the atmosphere.
Because of the Amazon's vital role for our planet, UNESCO has stepped in to protect a huge zone called the Central Amazon Conservation Complex. It covers an area bigger than Switzerland and is the largest protected stretch of tropical rainforest on Earth. This vast jungle is flooded half the year. Its floor sunk beneath 12 meters of water, creating a unique ecosystem within the Amazon jungle. With few humans, virtually no roads, and enormous biological diversity. Among the unique inhabitants is the strange and elusive Amazonian manatee, a creature that needs the area's floods to survive. Veterinarian Carolina Jolivera is helping to save the rare Amazonian manatee. At this floating base, in one of the conservation area's vast lakes.
Bom dia, pessoal.
Bom dia. Tudo bem?
E aí, como é que tá o trabalho? Já tá
Here, Carolina rehabilitates manatees found injured or orphaned.
At the moment, we have 7 manatees in the rehabilitation center. They're mostly animals that have been orphaned, and they arrive injured or after an attempted capture.
Today, Carolina gives them all a checkup. She'll weigh and measure all 7 to see if they're healthy enough to go back to the wild. First, the team must raise the bottom of the pen to get the adult manatees out of the water. These elusive mammals aren't used to human contact.
I love weighing and measuring because that's when we can check the results. I can follow their development and see if they're growing or if I should be worried.
When they go free, it will be a first for Carolina. She has yet to release a rehabilitated manatee.
The manatee is a pretty unique creature. There's nothing you can compare it to.
No one is sure how many freshwater manatees are left, and they are only found in the Amazon. They're more closely related to elephants than to whales. Locally, they're simply known as cowfish.
Its snout is very similar to that of cattle. Its diet consists exclusively of vegetation. And it lives in water, doesn't it? So it's a cowfish.
In the flooded forests of the Amazon basin, this mysterious creature finds plentiful food and places to hide. The manatees need her year-round attention. One of them has an infection. Bengalia has a vicious wound that has flared up.
This is the nicest manatee in the center.
She's a victim of an attempted poaching.
When she arrived, she had harpoon wounds, and some harpoon sediments got stuck inside her. The wound healed, but unfortunately, it caused an abscess. This is an antibiotic cream with other agents. It contains a formula that stops it leaking into the water.
If the wound doesn't heal, Carolina will have to operate. In the morning, Carolina weighs Bengalia. She's gained weight, a very good sign. But her wound is still infected.
Aí depois tu limpa de novo com solução fisiológica, né? A gente era pra ter feito ontem. Dada a agitação do local, não rolou.
Bengalia won't be going anywhere just yet.
Pomada, pomada.
Carolina won't release her until her wound heals. Manatees are injured when they accidentally swim into fishing nets or are hit by boats. But many, like Bengalia, are injured by hunters.
Hunting was very intense during the 1950s. These animals were hunted for food, to sell the meat, and to profit from the skin as well.
As many as 140,000 were killed. Their thick skin turned into machine belts and hoses. hunting is still a major threat, even in the Amazon's protected area. In the 2010 drought, hunters killed 300 Amazonian manatees. Every creature here becomes more vulnerable in droughts, from turtles and caimans to jaguars. In a place as vast as the Central Amazon Conservation Complex, keeping poachers at bay is a challenge. But if anyone can tackle it, it's this guy.
My name is Fabio. I'm an environmental analyst at the Chico Mendes Institute for Biodiversity Conservation.
Fabio Ozolins is not a normal lawman. He patrols to protect Amazon wildlife.
We have a high number of endemic animals, animals that only exist here. The main threats are wild animal trafficking, mostly of turtles.
Fabio patrols just a portion of the complex. But his assigned area is more than twice the size of America's Yellowstone National Park. There are no roads, and only 2 others to help him.
This place gives you the sensation that will swallow you, because it's gigantic. Everything is too far. Everything here is enormous. I fell in love as soon as I arrived.
In the rainy season, the area is a mosaic of partially submerged islands, creating narrow canals. Ideal hideouts, not just for poachers, but for drug smugglers too. For safety, Fabio works closely with Leslie Tavares, a biologist with a keen eye for hidden dangers.
Tarântulas, da família das aranhas-lobo. Algumas são venenosas.
Leslie is a very good colleague to have around. In our job, your life is in the hands of your colleague. Our friendship was built while working here, going on patrol together. I believe that my capability of transforming something bad to something funny was a good coping mechanism. And I even wrote a book about how to deal with a bad-tempered woman.
Uma mulher de temperamento difícil. Primeira lição, argumentou, perdeu.
There's no guarantee that we'll achieve the desired result and that we'll catch an offender. The place is very big, and the possibilities of escape are huge. It's like a game of cat and mouse.
Fabio has no idea what he'll find. Endangered animals, drugs, or even men with guns.
No caso da embarcação,
If we go on board and find any illegal species, the boat will be taken and the captain will be arrested.
E nós vamos autuar o comandante da embarcação.
This time, Fabio finds nothing suspicious.
In cases when we don't find anything, this person can just continue on their journey as normal. We're like Rambo meets Captain Planet.
Diminui a marcha pouquinho pra gente poder ouvir.
Rambo Fabio has spotted trouble.
Quando ele... Olha lá, liga, lá. Liga aí. Vai.
A boat is speeding out of the conservation area.
Corta o motor! Fiscalização federal! Como é que é o nome do senhor? O senhor sabe que isso aqui é uma área protegida onde é proibido entrar. Não sabe? Tem placa na entrada. O que o senhor está fazendo aqui?
Tentamos sair, mas conseguimos ver vocês, aí subimos para cima dele.
Esses utensílios aqui...
These are the tools to catch turtles. They haven't had a chance to catch any yet, but they invaded the conservation area nonetheless. With these poaching tools, that's classed as a crime.
Isso aí já configura crime. Isso aqui é usado na ponta dessa vara.
This is used like this. So when he spears the turtle, this head detaches and stays lodged inside the turtle's shell. So when you pull the rope, the turtle comes up together with the harpoon.
Isso aqui, com arpão. O que o senhor tem aqui, alguma coisa?
They're locals and haven't caught anything yet, so Fabio won't be too hard on them.
Os quelônios são muito apreciados para alimentação. Então a gente vai apreender seu material, vamos conduzir o senhor até a nossa base, vamos fazer a autuação do senhor e vamos conduzir o senhor para fora do parque.
These men are from communities that have existed since long before this was a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Alguns comunitários de dentro do
Some communities inside the park still traffic animals knowing it is not allowed, but it's a cultural issue.
que não deveriam fazer isso.
A lot of these communities have been doing this for many generations. They capture these animals to sell or for their own consumption, and this was never considered wrong for many generations.
Foi considerado uma coisa necessariamente errada.
But now, the locals have plenty of company. In the depths of the rainforest lies Manaus, Brazil. With few roads linking it to the rest of South America, Manaus is one of the world's most remote cities. Yet it has almost doubled in size since the 1990s. It now has a population of 1.8 million. And it continues to grow. In 2011, the first bridge opened over the Amazon River system.
E agora com a ponte?
Now with the bridge, we start to have an expansion from Manaus to other areas. Where you have roads cutting through the rainforest, deforestation follows. As the pressure of urbanization grows uncontrollably closer towards the reserves, so does the risk for the conservation areas.
Deforestation weakens the Amazon's ability to absorb the world's CO2. And that could be making the droughts more severe and more frequent. 20% of the Amazon rainforest has disappeared in the last 40 years, including the area around Manaus, 100 kilometers from the Central Amazon Conservation Complex. Marcelo Gordo is fighting to have the protections of the conservation complex expanded to include Manaus. He wears the evidence of his fighting spirit proudly, tattooed on his face.
Por admirar o povo.
It came from my admiration for the people and the history of the Maori in New Zealand. They represent pride and strength.
Muita guerra, né? E obviamente
Rugby helped me to come closer to this culture.
dessa cultura.
I was the first to bring rugby to Manaus.
Então pronto, aí já completou.
My life's complete now.
Marcelo's mission is to raise awareness that urban sprawl in the Amazon is wiping out entire species, like the pied tamarin.
This is an animal that is endemic to the area around Manaus. They used to inhabit the whole forest that was here before, but as the city grew, they have remained in disparate spots of rainforest. Some of these populations have continued to survive. They have big problems with traffic and getting run over trying to cross roads. They're also at risk of electrocution on power cables.
Marcelo is trying to learn if the groups that remain are genetically diverse enough to reproduce and not die out. So he needs to take DNA samples. To do that, he'll have to catch them.
If the monkeys stand here to eat the banana, the trap shuts.
Marcelo wants to catch 8 pied tamarins to gather data on these endangered creatures.
There are 2. I can see both. The less noise we make over here, the more likely it is that they will come.
The banana bait does the trick. Rain puts a stop to the trapping. Marcelo has caught 6 tamarins. Luckily, that's enough for his data collection. The animals are anesthetized while covered, so they remain calm.
We have a vet on hand just in case something were to go wrong. This one is a very young monkey. It's about 3 months old. All the individuals in the family help raise the babies.
Marcelo measures them, tags them, and takes blood samples.
It's a very territorial animal. They fight a lot, and that's a problem for conservation. It makes it difficult to transfer one group to another, where that species already exists. That's going to be a problem. It is absolutely vital to know about the animal on this basic level first, in order to develop approaches to its conservation. And reduce the threat it's under from urban expansion. The draw of the great mystery of the Amazon. It's something that fascinates me to this day and will continue to until the day I die. Untouched places, places where there are still indigenous people who have not had contact with the rest of the world. The biodiversity is very high. There is a very high variety of species. It would be crazy for us humans to be involved in the extinction of these creatures. They've also got a right to live.
Warriors like Marcelo are having an impact. In recent years, deforestation in Brazil has slowed dramatically. Despite this, the climatic swings have worsened, and the result is not just record droughts.
We went through a big drought in 2010, and now we're going through a huge flood. We're going through a more extreme cycle than we're used to seeing. The changes in the climate could be intensifying the process, which up until now could have been occurring naturally, but less frequently.
When the water is high, the caimans disperse, and it's safer to swim.
When I was little, I saw some documentaries by Jacques Cousteau about the Amazon. When I saw the huge rivers, I wanted to swim in them. Now, here we are. It's great fun. Sometimes the work can stress you out a bit, and you can say, "I'll be back in a second, guys," and go and dive in the water and come back.
Refreshed, Carolina resumes the emotional job of saving manatees. Flooding creates ideal conditions for them. Carolina would love to release some before the dry season sets in.
92.6.
Once each adult is weighed, it's released back into the tank to feed. If any are to go free, they'll need their energy.
We're now putting out new grass for the animals. They went out to fetch it. We have to do it every day. We take away the old grass and put out new stuff. A manatee can eat about 8% of its body weight in food in a day. It can weigh 350 kilograms, so that means more or less 20 kilograms of grass every day. It's a lot of hard work. We get up very early to fetch food for them.
There's no rule book for rehabilitating and releasing a manatee. The team is learning as it goes. Especially when it comes to two orphans whose mothers were killed by hunters. Carolina's colleague, Mariana, prepares milk for them up to 5 times a day. Too young to eat grass, they have to be bottle-fed.
We add canola oil because manatee milk is much fattier and thicker than cow's milk.
They have to go through an intensive care system because normally they arrive very weak and injured.
The smallest is Elena, the center's most recent arrival. She was also the most injured.
I think Elena's is the saddest and sweetest story because she's an animal that has suffered a lot. She was harpooned in the face, and that harpoon caused some serious wounds. She had a broken jaw and damaged facial nerves.
Unable to feed at first, Elena was rapidly losing weight.
She was treated and survived.
Today, she welcomes feeding time. And her healthy appetite is a good sign.
Elena is very hungry because this is the first bottle of the day.
Nowadays, she's able to feed by herself underwater. She's made a lot of progress.
But there's a new worry. that Elena will grow too attached to humans. The manatees must be prepared mentally as much as physically, or they can't be released.
We have to try and minimize our contact with them. That's the purpose of the underwater bottle. It's to avoid close contact with humans, because that's how it would be in the wild.
To be released, they need to understand how to be independent, so that there's no risk of them approaching humans and being hunted.
E acabarem sendo caçados, né?
It's time to weigh Elena. If she fails her checkup, it will be a hard blow. It's the moment of truth for the smallest manatee.
70, 73. 73. Praticamente a mesma coisa. Ah, mentira. Não, peraí, não perdeu, eu tô feliz.
Maintaining weight is better than losing it, but it means the hard work is not over yet. Carolina does not see the progress she had hoped for and decides to keep all the manatees a bit longer. This is all very new, and she wants to make sure she gets it right.
From what we've seen, I believe that by the middle of the year, they will be ready.
Caring for manatees is Carolina's most important job in the Central Amazon Conservation Complex. But she plays another role as well. She works closely with the local population in an experiment, the first of its kind in all of South America. Rather than trying to relocate them, Brazil is allowing more than 7,000 people to live within the UNESCO protected area.
Todos os outros tipos de reserva que a gente...
All the other types of reserves that we have here in Brazil don't consider the human question. The great thing about sustainable development reserves is that their philosophy is different. They don't just protect the natural environment, but also help these communities to develop.
O desenvolvimento dessas populações.
The scientists are showing villagers the importance of limiting their impact on the rainforest. Helping them do that is local hero Antonio da Silva Batista, who spreads the word through his radio show, Voice of the Jungle.
It's a voice that echoes through nature, through the jungle. Preserve it today so you can enjoy it in the future.
Carolina makes the most of Antonio's reach across the jungle to spread the latest manatee news.
Estou aqui com a veterinária que cuida ali dos peixe-boi no centrinho, a Carolina. Mas o seu ponto de vista assim da soltura desses peixe-bois que vai ser solto na natureza?
Então, eles ainda não estão prontos, né? Eles estão se preparando, né? Eles ainda têm que se acostumar mais, que eles tivessem que procurar comida por conta própria, né? Para quando for solto não se aproximar das pessoas, porque eles podem encontrar algum caçador, né? Nos recebe muito bem.
The Voice of the Jungle is a constant reminder of the value of keeping the rainforest intact. But reserve rules can be a hardship. It's now illegal for fishermen like Chito to catch what was once the Amazon's signature fish.
Mas cuidado, você não pesca o pirarucu, é dos peixes que é preservado, se é proibido durante o ano todo, né?
The pirarucu, or arapaima, is one of the world's largest freshwater fish. It's extremely valuable and now endangered.
Fishing arapaima is banned in the reserve because it was overfished.
The bait is a local fruit.
This is what the tambaqui breaks to eat the nut inside.
The reserve will reconsider arapaima fishing once the population rebounds. And in the meantime, there are plenty of other fish to eat.
This is a perapachinga. It's very tasty to eat. Dinner is sorted for tonight. I was feeling a bit on edge as I'd only caught one fish, but now I have two. I'm not worried anymore.
Today, the villagers work together to curb overfishing and overhunting before populations sink too low, as happened with the arapaima.
E precisamos da sua ajuda. Então, se você caçou ou achou algum animal aí morto pela natureza, me informe. Agradecemos a sua ajuda. Continue com esse bom trabalho, pessoal.
Antonio keeps track of every animal killed in the reserve to help monitor wild populations.
5 quilos.
And they're not always killed for food.
At the age of 8, I was bitten by a snake called a surucucu here in the Amazon and was unconscious for 3 days, completely out of it. That's why my leg was amputated. There was no doctor around when I was bitten. Our house was isolated.
Antonio also preserves the animals' stomachs at the request of the reserve scientists who train and supply him.
They go to the laboratory. The researcher who I work with will do the analysis to see what they eat and what their diet contains.
By analyzing the stomach contents, scientists can learn if climate change is affecting the food chain.
The fauna and the flora, that's what I fight for. Not just for me, but to keep this natural beauty for the coming generations.
Science now drives how this Amazon community lives. Giant caimans now crowd the beaches in dry season. Their numbers have doubled.
The arapaima population in the reserves has increased by more than 400%. It's quite a substantial increase.
And the people are prospering, even more than in other rural areas in Brazil. Fishermen like Cheeto can now afford cattle to provide milk and meat. He's found a way to raise them sustainably without cutting down trees for pasture.
I want to keep a lot of cattle, but floods affect us every year, so it's hard to feed ourselves and the animals. To make a floating pen for the cattle, you have to collect a special kind of wood from the sandbox tree. It's the same wood we use to build floating houses.
The cows live like this for at least 3 months.
This is why it takes a lot of strength and guts to keep cattle. Spending 3 months gathering food for them is not easy. Today, if it wasn't for this project, the people involved and the researchers, things would be harder here for us. Because before, there was no preservation. There was no knowledge that things would get destroyed.
É coisa boa, colega, é coisa boa. Mas, rapaz, deixa aí. Aqui, pirapitinga é o peixe melhor que tem no Amazonas. É gostoso. Não, pesca, mas
No, fishing today isn't like it used to be for me. Everything has changed. Even men have changed to women, you know. I never thought that would happen. Everything's different these days.
Tá mudado.
A new generation is being raised with increased awareness about the value of the forest.
Então, com a criança, de vez em quando a gente leva alguns lá.
Sometimes we take children to the center. It's much easier to give them new attitudes.
Hábito novo, assim, né? E aí machucou a boca dela, machucou o olho, machucou tudo. Ela chegou aqui, não conseguia comer direito, não conseguia mamar, tava muito triste. Eles cuidaram dela e aí ela tá boa agora. Mas ela respira torto de banda, assim. Então, é importante...
It's important for children to be able to have contact and to see the manatees personally.
Pessoalmente, né? Ter a oportunidade de...
Being able to see the real-life animal close up can make a strong impression. The older generations remark that younger people aren't so interested in hunting manatees. I think they've got a different view of the world. One day, manatee hunting will just be stories told by their grandparents.
É só história de avô para contar, né?
Você acha que os caçadores de peixe-bois, que chamam os pescadores, né, de peixe-boi, eles diminuíram a pesca depois desse trabalho que está acontecendo aqui na Reserva Manã?
Dá para notar que diminuiu, sim, a caça, né? O pessoal mais jovem, assim, a criançada, os adolescentes, por estarem mais com essa consciência de educação ambiental e tal, os hábitos mudam. Olha lá, ó. Puxou. Eles pegam e puxam a bicicleta.
Tonight, this unique community is coming together to party Amazon style. It's the voice of the jungle's 6th anniversary, and Antonio wants to celebrate. The next step is to spread the idea that sustainable living within the jungle is not only possible, but vital for the Amazon's protection. And protecting the Amazon can be good for people, too. The fight against climate change is a long one.
Ainda daria tempo.
There's still time to do something about it, but we need to see a change in the attitude of people and government alike.
But with places like the Central Amazon Conservation Complex and its guardians on our side, the fight is on the right track.
I do really believe with that many people engaged in protecting and understanding the Amazon forest, it will remain as alive as it is today.
By saving their corner of the rainforest, they're setting a global example and paving the way for eco-warriors worldwide.